And we are back. Welcome back into the Pigskin Cafe. My name is Hampton Sipper, and I will be your host this evening, guiding you through a special conversation that I've really been looking forward to. Joining me tonight is the founder of Per4orm and most notably Tua Tagovailoa's trainer, Mr. Nick Hicks. Nick, thank you for jumping into the cafe tonight. How you doing, brother?
Hampton, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good, brother. I appreciate you having me on.
Now, hey, like I told you pre-show, the pleasure is all mine. Getting to talk with you a little bit and learn more about you and learn more about the work that you and Tua and you and other NFL players that you train have put in over the offseason, how it is paying dividends this year. But before we kind of get into Tua and get into any other player that you train, I kind of want to know your story first. So, how did you get into training? Like, what motivated you to do that, and you kind of just go from there?
Okay. It's a good question. I appreciate that question, man. Former athlete, I actually played quarterback in high school, and I tore my ACL as a sophomore and ended up tearing the same knee again as a junior. So that kind of got me into this little, I guess you could say mindset to where, I got to figure out why this is happening to me and not, other people. So
Hmm.
I this hunger for knowledge about strength and training and sprinting and running and jumping and cutting and figuring out how to prevent these injuries from happening for myself kind of just came to be, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
So yeah, man, that's how I really got into it. 2 years after that, I went to college, played ball, tore my left knee. So I had three ACL reconstructive surgeries by this time now. But at that time, I was an exercise science major and kinesiology major, and I was studying. And basically, the third go around from ACL, I did the entire rehab and come back myself, without anybody else. Um, After college, I applied for a strength job back home in South Florida. I was in Chicago then, and I got it. It was at St. Thomas University in Miami Gardens, and I came down here as a 23-year-old kid. I was a head strength coach out of college. Really didn't have too much experience. Didn't really know what I was doing, but I figured it out. And a couple of years of that, I got an opportunity to open up my own gym. My first gym was called Elevate. Had Elevate for about 3 years, sold that to a former business partner. We had two different ideas of what we wanted to do. He
Hmm.
wanted to have more of a fitness type facility. I wanted more of the sports performance. So we ended up going our separate ways, and that's how Per4orm came to be.
Well, how about that? I knew that you were a former athlete and that you had some injuries and that kind of fueled you, but I didn't know all the other
Yeah.
steps in that process. And I think it's really cool, kind of from my perspective, how the Lord used those adverse times in your life to kind of fuel what you're doing now and kind of turn that into a passion of yours and how he's blessed you through that and
100%.
how how you where you're at now is kind of a testament to that. So that is really really cool. um, who would you
Yep.
say was the first major athlete that you kind of came in contact with and started training and kind of gotten your foot in the door and opened other opportunities for other athletes to come in to perform?
So you know what? I got a great opportunity to, while I was at St. Thomas University, to work with another company called Athletes Edge. That company is no longer a company, but there were some really good trainers that worked there too. Myself and another guy, Mike Smith, down here being one. But I actually got thrown into training a group, NFL group, and that group had Javon Curse, Lito Shepard,
Oh.
Channing Crowder, and Asante Samuel. Those are probably like the four big
Hmm.
name guys. And I was just a guy out there holding bands, putting cones down, putting them through drills, so on and so forth. So that was definitely the almost like my intro to a professional football offseason, right? So it was cool. I really wasn't the man spearheading it and putting it together. But I was definitely an asset to that company then, and I was training those guys.
Hmm.
When I opened up Elevate, I we had Lamar Miller, running back for the Dolphins. He was probably
Hmm.
one of the bigger names then that we were training. Um, but yeah, man, it's I'd say the very first big name guy was that group right there, man. And it's grown ever since. It's grown ever since.
Hmm. Well, you know what's funny is I remember like Lito Shepherd and Javon Kearse from playing with them on
Yep.
NFL 2K5 when I was like 7 years
Yep.
old.
Yeah.
So that was my introduction to them. Yeah, they were really dang good back in the day. They were a formidable defense up
Yep.
there in Philadelphia. So that's really cool, man. What would you say is
Yeah,
your
man.
favorite aspect of the job, other than helping guys kind of get to where they want to be? What is your favorite aspect of your job?
You know what? My job doesn't. People think that I just train NFL athletes, right? That's actually just
Mhm,
a little small piece of it, man. I spend 90% of my time working with high school athletes and youth
mhm,
athletes, and for me, that's really what is promising and something that I really look forward to, because you see exponential growth of those guys.
mhm,
Training the NFL guys, they're already at the top of the game. They're elite, right? So there's certain things, certain nuances that you can work on and perfect over time, right? Over the course of an off season. But if you've got a kid that is 8 years old, and you've seen his growth over 5 years, and now he's 13 years old, it's just you kind of get this understanding of wow, we've come a long way. So
mhm.
really, that's the most rewarding part of my job that I love. I mean, I've got guys that are in the league right now that I've been training since they were in seventh grade. So that journey is amazing to see, and it's crazy. It kind of makes me feel old. But we've been doing this for a long time, and we've seen some really cool things happen. Once the kids buy into the program, and they know that we're there for them, and we just want to help.
Hmm. Absolutely. You're a pivotal part of their development, not only physically, but I'm sure, emotionally, maturity wise.
Of
You're a
course.
big, I mean, you play a big part in that. So that's a really cool perspective of it. And I'm sure it's very rewarding for you. And that's really cool to see. My final question before we kind of dive into Tua a little bit is, who
Yeah.
would you say is the most impressive athlete that you've come across training? Like who's like the guy who's like a freak of all freaks in your
Yeah.
in your opinion? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is a monster. I've never seen him fail on a bench press. I've never seen him fail on a squat. Never seen him fail on a deadlift. I've seen him do 30-inch pogos, to where, I mean, he just straight leg jumps over people. It's unbelievable.
Hmm.
He's insanely powerful. I mean, when we're pulling sleds out there in the field right now, I've got 100 pounds on the sled. He makes it look like the sled's still 30 pounds, 40 pounds.
Hmm.
He's just one of those special athletes, man. And people have asked me that before, and I mean, it's JK every time for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. And I hate that he's kind of had, he had the knee last year and it's kind of lingered into
Yeah,
this year. And then he had another knee cleanup. But when that guy is healthy, he is
yeah,
indeed a freak. I know at Ohio State, he, Ohio State's had a lot of good backs, but he was probably, in my opinion, I mean, he was up there with Zeke as far as, impressing
he
me
was, man.
when I
He was
watched them.
special.
Absolutely.
For sure. And
Absolutely.
it's unfortunate this offseason, because this offseason he had to stay in Baltimore. They recommended that he stay up there and work with the team. And I didn't get to see him once this offseason,
Mm,
which sucked. We talked a lot, and he kind of kept me in the loop about what was going on with his rehab and whatnot. And the second surgery that he got, he's feeling night and day. I know that he had a lot of scar tissue buildup underneath
mhm.
the kneecap, the patella, and he got that cleaned out, and he's feeling so much better. And I know that they're going to need him. They're going to need him. Not for this regular season, but for this playoff push. Man, the Ravens got a good football team, and JK is going to be a huge piece of that run if they do make it.
Absolutely, because yeah, they've been struggling to run the ball, really ever since
Yep.
he went out. They've been struggling the whole year, so he would be a big boost to that running game for sure, for sure. Well, let's
Yeah.
dive in to Tua, Nick, and we talked pre-show, and you joked with me that I'm a big Alabama fan, and so
Yeah.
obviously I'm one of the guys that some of the Dolphins community probably don't care for as much because I am a bandwagon Dolphins fan. I'm a Dolphins fan because of Tua. Now
That's all
I'm a
right,
fan of
and that's okay. Yeah,
yeah. And I'm a fan of everybody on the team now that he's on there. I follow them like I follow Alabama, but I feel like I have
yeah,
kind of being an Alabama fan, I have a unique perspective on Tua because I remember, I mean, I was a senior, no, I just graduated high school. I remember staying up on I think it was either June or July and watching this special on CBS with him committing to Alabama. I remember watching the Elite 11 process and him winning that and just being really endeared to the kid at that time with how he handled himself, with the improvement he made. I mean, Trent Dilfer said he had never seen
yeah,
anything like the jump he made. I think from like the regional to the actual competition, from how coachable he was, how much hard work he put in. So I followed him through that. Then, of course, he gets to Alabama. That first spring at Alabama, he um, lights it up in the first scrimmage, which doesn't happen. I mean, he threw like 4 touchdowns in Alabama's first spring scrimmage.
yeah,
And that was when Jalen
yeah. He
Hurts
came
was a
in. He
starter.
came in right away and was doing his thing. Yeah, I remember that. Yep,
Yeah, absolutely. And, Jalen Hurts is now top 5 in the NFL MVP conversation.
yep.
But at that time, a lot of people thought that, kind of within the walls of the athletic facility, that Tua was the better guy for the offense. But Nick Saban is a very
Yeah.
loyal guy. He loves Jalen, and Jalen's a great dude. And so it was tough for him to kind of give Tua an opportunity. Now, all throughout the year, he would come in, like against Vanderbilt, he came in the game and did like a pirouette spin and threw it to
Yeah, he
Devontae
spun
Smith right in
out.
stride. You
Yep,
remember that play? Yeah.
yep. I
He
remember. Oh
came
yeah, I
in.
remember that play. A little spin move, tight, right side of the right side of the end zone. Yeah,
Yep. And then he came in against Tennessee. I remember I was at the game and he like stepped up on the pocket on 3rd and 15 and is like running to his left and throws like a 20 to 30 yard BB to Henry Ruggs coming across the middle. And I looked to the guy who was with me. And I'm just like, I mean, because Alabama
yeah.
before Tua had never had a quarterback with the capability to throw the ball like he could. And then obviously, 2nd and
No.
26 happened. And then from there, he put together the most incredible 2-year run that I've ever witnessed an Alabama quarterback put together. So efficient, so lethal, explosive. Then obviously the hip injury happens in 2019, and he gets drafted by Miami.
Yep.
And, that first year was kind of tumultuous with Brian Flores, Fitzpatrick started the year, but then they pulled him and put Tua into the Rams game. And then throughout the year, he pulled him twice when he struggled a little bit. And I think that kind of flip flop stunted his development a little bit, along with the fact that he probably wasn't
Yeah.
100% healthy. And so that's when you come in. That after that rookie offseason, I believe that is when you kind of paired up with Tua. So if you will tell the audience kind of how you met Tua, how
Yeah.
you met his family, and that
For sure.
process. Yeah.
So you're right. That was a crazy year. A lot had happened, and me being the Dolphin fan that I am, right? I watched Tua's rookie season, not knowing that I was even going to be training Tua, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt bad for him. I felt bad because he just didn't look himself. He kind of he looked like a rookie, right? And he got thrown into the game, and he got thrown into these situations that I don't know if he was prepared for. Um, but to be honest, I never thought that Miami picked the wrong guy. I never thought that oh man, we made a mistake because he showed some signs of greatness. In his rookie year, like when he
Arizona
when he
game.
the games. Arizona game was great. I mean, the game against the Chiefs was great.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
he showed signs, of really really special traits that we had seen, him show at Bama. So it's cool because his agent, Chris Cabot, represents a running back that I train. His name is Khalil Herbert. He did pre-draft training with us, and I've known Khalil for a long time. We went to the same high
He's a
school. He's
beast.
obviously younger
Yeah.
than me. He's a beast. Yeah. So they're both represented by Chris Cabot, and he approached me midway through pre-draft training, saying, "Hey, I got another client that I'm looking to find a home for training." and I think that you might be the guy. And I was like, all right, cool, sounds good. Who is he? And he's like, it's Tua. And I was like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
that's pretty cool. And and from there on out, the rest is history. We've been working together now for 2 years, and we obviously there's been some ups and downs in the process, by way of the media and quote unquote haters. Not only coming at him but also at me. But the process has been fun. It's been cool, because year off season one and off season two have been completely different plans and different strategies towards what his goals were. Off season one was to get him back stronger. Because that hip injury was it's pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
Mhm.
Majority of the people that get that hip injury don't play sports ever again.
Mhm.
There's a point in time in which I believe that I saw in a documentary that he could have almost lost a limb if he didn't get to the hospital in
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean? Stuff like
Mhm.
that. So it was a pretty bad injury. So knowing that what he had to go through from rehabbing that injury and getting ready for a pro day, and just showing teams that he was capable of
Mhm.
actually running around and he was healthy enough to play. That process for him was long and hard, and you know, tip my hat to him. But the first offseason that we had, man, was all about strength and kind of bulletproofing that hip again. And that's what we focused on, for 3 months. We got him back in healthy shape and strength shape and playing shape, but it really wasn't football or quarterback shape. And that's what
Mhm.
offseason two was, which was so much more fun because we can do things, and I could really set up certain situations and certain drills, and working a lot of footwork and moving off platform, and throwing on the run, whether it's to the left, to the
Mhm.
right, or towards the line of scrimmage. And it gets me excited for year three. We've got some things. I've got some ideas that I know that I want to work on, and I'm sure him and I will talk. When that time comes, and we'll keep this relationship going.
Mhm. When you mentioned footwork, and I think that is kind of one of the biggest stark differences between last year and this year is I think Tua's
Yeah.
footwork is like it was at Bama, if not better. And I know you really worked on that, but last year, and a lot of this had to do with the offensive line, let's be honest, because it was an unmitigated
Of course.
disaster. But he would be fading back and kind of opening up every time he threw the ball because he was afraid
Of
of getting
course.
hit. He got a little gun shy, especially after the rib injury. And shoot, I can't blame him, not one bit. And with
Yeah, a little
him especially,
PTSD.
not. Oh, go ahead. What'd you say?
No, it's like a little bit of a PTSD. Like
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of a that's kind of what I thought was going on. But you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, you're fine. But especially with Tua,
yeah,
I mean, he has a strong arm, and when he has that kinetic chain going, and his base is good,
yep,
he can make any throw that he wants to make. But have it kind of working on that and working on that footwork, I know was imperative for this year. So I wanted to also ask you
yeah.
about his his psyche, I guess, from this year
Okay.
or last year to this year, because I thought it was very interesting on the CBS broadcast this past week, with them talking about him looking in the mirror and asking, "Do I suck? Like, do I belong at this level?" And man, like Nick, as someone who's followed him for as long as I have since he was in high school, that broke my heart because
Yeah,
his first 2 years in Miami, that wasn't Tua, that wasn't Bama Tua. The spirit like that he lives his life with was kind
yeah,
of gone.
man.
It was vacated. And I kind of just want you to speak to that a little bit, because I think that is very
Yeah.
important for not only the training that you did on the field with improving footwork, but his improved psyche and mentality this year. And a lot of that has to do with Mike McDaniel.
A lot of it has to do with Coach Mike McDaniel for sure. I've seen the kid at his lows,
Hmm.
at some serious lows. But he's always had people around him, supporting him. I've obviously supported him from day one. I've never, changed my stance on that just because I know the type of athlete he is, know the type of person he is, and I just know the type of character that he has, and he wants to win, and he wants the Dolphins fan base to feel good about the Dolphins winning,
Mhm.
and he just wants them. He knows that if the Dolphins win, it could make or break somebody's week, right? Because there are
Mhm.
diehard fans out there that just absolutely love the Dolphins. And I think that's one of the main reasons why he works so hard, because he wants everyone else to be happy. He
Mhm.
plays football, for many reasons, and sharing or allowing people to, feel good and happy is definitely one of them. So when you got a fan base that is talking shit and talking trash and over there just, saying whatever when they don't even have any idea of really what's going on, it hurt me
Mhm.
because I'm the one listening to it. Tua didn't hear any of it. Tua didn't hear any of it. I know that he says he kept receipts and whatnot, but I'm sure that he got those from somebody. It wasn't like he was actually going out there and collecting them. So, um, but go back to the point about his psyche, man. It was definitely there were some dark times. There were some dark times. There were some sad times, and we never let that get in the way of training. We never really talked about it. We never talked about any kind of trade rumors. We never talked about what
Mhm.
Stephen A. said or what Colin Cowherd said. Like, there's no reason for me to bring up anything negative inside of
Mhm.
what we're trying to accomplish inside of our space. So hearing that, I knew a lot about it. But I'm really
Mhm.
glad that people can now understand what it was like, because it wasn't fun. There was a lot of
Mhm.
times where it's. I mean, listen, he found an escape last year, and last year was golf. He would play golf. He would play golf.
Mhm.
Hey man, you want to go play golf? Cool, I'll go play golf. Because you go out there, it's quiet, no one's around, and you're just focused and you're just in your thoughts, right? So this year, he didn't need a golf. There's no golf. He's not playing any golf. I'm sure the clubs are getting dusty, because he's loving the game again. He's back to who he was. He's back to who he is, that you'd seen at Bama, and that has everything to do with Coach Mike McDaniel. 100% to do with Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer. I mean, Chris Greer is the one that pulled the trigger and decided to
Mhm.
keep Tua around as well. And you know, Tua is very, very grateful. He's forever grateful for that, and I know that he's going to do everything in his power to prove those guys right, and win as many games and playoff games and hopefully some Super Bowls.
Mhm. Hey, that's music to my ears right there, Nick. Absolutely, man. And
Yeah, man.
I think one thing I admire about you is sometimes you would be like, I didn't really watch Game of Thrones, but I know the scene of Jon Snow with
Yeah,
everybody attacking him.
yeah.
That was you a lot of the time, man. And before I
With
even
the
interacted with
sword in
you,
my hand, just waiting.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. But
I
before
hear
I
you.
even really talked to you,
Yep.
I admired that so much about you, not only because that's your guy, but because like I felt the same way as a guy who, loved Tua, supported Tua, and was a big fan of his. So I appreciate you for that. And I know
Yeah.
with Coach Mike McDaniel's new approach to really build him up, really encourage him, and really accentuate what he does well, and give him confidence. I always laughed when people said, "Oh, he can't deal with tough coaching." When he played for Nick Saban, who is a very tough
Yeah.
coach, very demanding coach. He's probably Nick
Yeah.
Saban's favorite player to ever come through the
Yeah.
program. I mean, he all but said it. So I always thought that was
Yeah.
just high comedy.
Oh,
Absolutely.
he's Tua's had tough coaching his entire life. His dad is the toughest
His
coach,
dad, yeah.
and has coached
Hmm.
him tough forever. And him and his dad have gotten his dad and myself have gotten very close over this process too. And his dad is a pivotal partner training. I look
Hmm.
to him because he knows what makes Tua go. He knows what Tua needs. I mean, who knows Tua better than Nalu? So
Hmm.
he still is his coach, but he kind of leaves majority of the coaching to me. Kind of
Hmm.
takes a step back just because it's that time. It's his
Yeah.
son's a professional now, and he's passed the torch on. Um, but I mean, Nalu's the best. He's an amazing man. Has so much football knowledge. Teaches me new things all the time, and I'm very grateful for him.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's got two in the NFL, then Talia, breaking records in Maryland, doing an exceptional job. Really proud of him. So yeah,
Yeah.
Nalu is very knowledgeable and definitely knows what he's doing. My final question for you, Nick, because I know you got to get out of here. I mean, Tua's been lighting
I'm
it up
having
this
fun though,
year.
Hampton. I appreciate it.
Dude, Nick, hey, I'm having a blast, man. We could go on for
Yeah.
2 hours, but I
Cool.
want to be
I
respectful of your
bet,
time.
man, all day.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. But Tua is number one in the NFL and QBR, close in completion percentage, EPA. I mean, he's above and beyond what I thought was possible. I thought he could be top 10, top 5 heading into the year, but I mean, he's top 2 right now, in my opinion. It's him and Mahomes. There's
Yeah.
no one playing the position
Yeah.
better than him right
Agreed.
now. And I just want to ask you, I know you talked about on other platforms that you didn't even see this level of play coming from him. Like you thought he'd be much improved, top 5, top 10. But I mean, at the level he's at
Yeah.
is unreal. Do you think that he can? I mean, I don't know. I have a sneaky feeling with this slate coming up. You go to the 49ers, statement game.
Yep.
You go to the Chargers, another
Chargers.
statement game against a guy who a lot of the fan base had clamored for. And, shout out
Yep.
Emmanuel Acho, social media quarterback. Then you have the
He's the
Bills,
man.
big division rival. And as Alf Artiaga said, 3 yards per carry, he said, this Sunday is for the coach. The next game is for Tua, and then the other one is for the franchise. But do you think he keeps it up and kind of elevates his level of play with the competition coming on the schedule?
You know what, Hampton, I really do. Just because the game looks easy for him right now. Everything looks very easy for him. If you catch the clips, like, from the end zone angles, and you just kind of watch him manipulate people with his eyes, he's doing it week in and week out. He's not just doing it one game. He's doing it every single week. He's hitting guys in stride. He's checking out of passes and checking into runs and scoring touchdowns. He's selfless. I mean, guys like that are just going to keep winning games because they don't care about the personal accolades and all that kind of stuff. They just want to win.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's just going to put his teammates in the best position every single time. But yeah, man, it's really cool to think about, but I think he's going to keep it going. I really do. I do know that these defenses that are coming up, they're solid. I mean, the Chargers still got a bunch of studs on paper. They might not have the best defense, in the stats, but they've got guys.
Mm-hmm.
And a healthy Bills defense too, man. I mean, it's scary. So I'm not worried. I'm not worried about it. It's probably the most confident I've ever been in him, and knowing that he's going to go out there and do his job, and he's going to do his 1/11th, and he's going to do it at an efficiency and at an ability better than anyone right now.
I totally agree because what he does translates wherever you go. Because he doesn't rely on the big time, big arm throws like Josh Allen and all that. He
Yep.
relies on the intricacies
Yep.
of the position, the touch, the anticipation, throwing guys open, the footwork, the pocket presence. And I think he is going to make a push for that MVP in the next 6 games, kind of close out the year. And I, for one,
Yeah, man.
cannot wait to watch it, Nick. And thank you so much for your time, man. Before
Me
we let
too.
you go, tell everybody kind of where they can find you and what you got going on. I know y'all opened a new facility, which is really exciting. So tell the people about that.
Yep. Yeah, so we're located in Davie, Florida. I know your viewers are probably all over, but primarily probably Alabama. But we're in
Mm-hmm.
Davie, Florida. If you ever get a chance to come down to South Florida, come see us. We are in the process of moving. I've been very busy with that. Right now, we're in a 4,000 square foot facility. We're moving into a 12,000 square foot facility in about a month. It's coming down to it. So we've definitely grown. And we're still growing. But yeah, guys, and Hampton, I appreciate you, man, and if there's anything else that I could do, if you want to get back on a show and maybe revisit this in 3 weeks after Tua's done his West Coast tour and swept the all the haters off their feet. I'd love to chop it up again.
Hey, we would love that, Nick. You have an open invitation anytime, man, and I appreciate you so much for all that you do. For Tua and for the other athletes that you train, and for coming on the show. It means a lot to us, and we will be sure to be rooting on the Dolphins together, and it's going to be an exciting next few weeks. And for our viewers out there, if this is your first time listening to the Pigskin Cafe, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, and leave a comment, and hit that notification bell so you will know anytime a new video drops. We will be back later this week breaking down college football week 13 and looking ahead to conference championship weekend. But the Pigskin Cafe is closed for now. But until next time, chew on that.